Firstly, you want existence to feel magical again. You want existence to feel magical again, the way that it felt to you when you were first born, when you were a baby or when you were a toddler. If you can recall back to when you were like 5, 6, 7 years old, all of reality was magical to you. All of it was beautiful. Even the stuff that was boring or ugly or something you didn't like, it was still magical to you. It was fresh to you. And then over the decades, that magic was beaten out of you through a lot of bad social conditioning and simply by just becoming acclimated, right? Acclimated to reality to the point where you are now, reality to you is very boring, it's very mundane, and you take it completely for granted. You're not even consciously connected to the fact that what you're alive inside of is you're inside this ball of magic. Everything that's happening around you is pure magic. The next thing you really want, but that you have no idea that you want, is you want things to be completely effortless in your life. You want to wake up and just go through your day, and you want everything just to flow. Just flows. There's no resistance. There's no fighting with yourself. There's no trying to convince yourself. There's no forcing or whipping yourself into a frenzy to get something done. There's no guilt. There's no rules. It's just like, it's effortless. It's flow. It just happens naturally. You want whatever you're doing in your life to unfold seamlessly, effortlessly, naturally. Another thing that you want, that you have no idea that you want, is you want to be authentic. You want to act, speak, think, and behave authentically. Spontaneously. In an uninhibited fashion. So uninhibited that we might almost say like you're slightly intoxicated. But not intoxicated with alcohol or some kind of drug, but you're intoxicated simply with kind of like again, the magic of life and just the playfulness of life, right? You're playful in the way that you do everything because you're doing it authentically and you're very uninhibited, right? So you don't have those fears in the back of your mind. You don't have those worries. You don't have like reservations about, oh, what are they going to think of me and what's going to happen if this happens and all that typical stuff that happens in your mind. None of that is happening. You're just behaving like out, like an extrovert. You're just behaving out and you're not worrying about what's going on inside your mind. This is kind of spontaneous, authentic behavior. And you're doing this in your relationships. You're doing this with work. You're doing this, everything in your life. From the moment you wake up to the moment you go to bed. You're just being authentic. The other thing you really want, but don't know that you want, is you want a dispassionate mind. A dispassionate mind. What does this mean? Sounds like I'm telling you that you want to be a robot. You want to be highly rational and mechanical and unemotional. But that's not what I'm telling you at all. In fact, that's a complete bastardization of what I'm telling you. A dispassionate mind is a mind that does not cling or need anything. It's detached. But this does not mean it's not emotional. Very different. Very different. But what you want is you want this kind of dispassionate mind. This kind of mind that treats everything in reality evenly. We might also call this an equanimous mind, a mind that has equanimity with everything, with pleasure and with pain and with boredom and with the highs and the lows, with the good and the bad and the ugly and everything, right? Treats everything dispassionately. Now, this is a very counterintuitive thing to want, because what most people want What you probably want is you want the exact opposite of that. When you think about it, it's like, no, Leo, I actually want to be passionate. I want to love the good stuff and I want to not want the bad stuff. No, but see, that's what you usually do. That's what everybody does. That's what the bum sitting on the street corner begging for money does. What's rare is to have a dispassionate mind. That's very rare. And that's something you actually deeply, authentically are searching for. But you don't know yet that this is what you're searching for, and you have no idea about how to acquire it. In fact, you fear it. You worry about it. You worry about, Leo, if I have a dispassionate mind, what'll that mean for my life, you know? Will that mean I won't love my kids or my girlfriend or my boyfriend or my family? Or will that mean that I'll just be a boring person with no personality? Is that what you mean? And see, that just that demonstrates to you that you haven't really penetrated into what I'm saying yet, because that's not what I mean. Another subcomponent of this point about dispassionate mind is that you want to be totally unattached from any ideology. Unattached from any ideology. This means that you have no intellectual position to defend of any kind. You have no scientific position to defend, no historical position, no religious position, no spiritual position, no political position, no economic position, just no intellectual positions at all. You want to be positionless with no beliefs to defend. This means totally undogmatic. This means totally open-minded. Now, you might think that you already have that, but you don't have that. That takes some real serious, deep fucking work to get. What you have is you have the opposite of that. You have a bunch of pet theories and cosmologies and metaphysical ideas that you love to defend. And you will fucking fight. You will waste hours of your life on forums and on internet chat rooms and with your friends talking and discussing and debating this shit as though it fucking mattered at all. Philosophy, politics, religion, science, evolution, history, you will fucking fight over this shit like a child. What you really, really want is you want to stop doing that. Another thing you really want, but you have no idea that you want, is you want to be fully sober. Fully sober. What does this mean? This means, I don't mean intoxicants here like chemicals and alcohol. I mean, you want to be so conscious and so aware that the best word I can come up for it is you're lucid. You're lucid. It's as though you woke up in the middle of a dream and you realize that you're dreaming, but this happens not in your dreams, but in reality, right? You're so conscious that you're lucid. You're so conscious that it's as though like everything that's happening around you is happening kind of in slow motion. Everything is very still and you're looking through the world as though the world is made out of glass. This is a pretty powerful experience that one can have, especially if you do a lot of consciousness work, a lot of awareness work, such as meditation, vipassana, self-inquiry, and so forth. You can have these kinds of experiences. But another way to phrase it is you basically just want to look upon reality without having a single thought about it. So it doesn't matter what's happening in reality. Doesn't matter where you are. Doesn't matter who you're with. You just want to be wherever you are and just experience it with not a single thought. Not a single judgment, not a single theory, just total quiet. But see, you can't do that because your mind won't fucking shut up. Your mind just keeps yap. It just keeps yapping away. And even when you try to silence that, it just yaps more. You can't stop yapping. You try to silence this one, you create another yapper. Now you got two yappers in your mind. Yap, 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 yap. You got two of them. You got double the yapping when you try to stop yapping. Then you can create three of them. There's no end to it because you don't have control over your mind. So that's something you really want. Another thing that you want, but you don't know that you want, is you want to be nobody. I love this. You want to be nobody. This is so fucking counterintuitive. You don't want to be cool. You don't want to be this person. You don't want to be the successful guy. You don't want to be the guy who's great with women. You don't want to be the woman who's very creative and has a great family. You don't want any of this. You don't want to be associated with anything. You want to have zero identity. That's what you really want. But you don't know that. You think that self-development is about developing a greater, nicer, cooler, hipper, more powerful identity. You haven't realized yet that the goal of the game is to get rid of your identity so that you are literally a nobody. You have no personal history. You have no personal attachments to the past or the future. You have no attachments to what you should behave like, to what your personality is, to who you are, whether you're a male or a female, or an introvert or an extrovert, or whether you're good at math, or you're good at English, or whether you're a good student, or whether you're a good mechanic, or whether you're a nerdy person, or whether you're a hipster person, or whether you're gay or you're straight, or whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, or whether you're religious or you're atheistic or you're scientific, or you're intelligent or you're dumb, or whatever kind of identity you've created for yourself that you believe is you, you ultimately, what you really want is you want to have none of that. You want to completely drop it so that what remains is just a blank. You want to be a blank. You want to be a nobody. The way that you were, by the way, if you can remember, when you were a child. When you were 5 years old, you were basically a nobody. You didn't know very much about yourself. You didn't identify very much with anything about yourself. You didn't think you were smart or stupid. You didn't think you were even like male or female. These things only came in later as artificial ideas that you picked up from your parents and from your friends and from school and all that kind of stuff. Right? But in the beginning, you didn't have any of that. You were just a blank experiencing reality happening to it. That's what you were. And that's where you want to get back to. But that's so counterintuitive because you've built up this entire identity structure. And now, anytime you even attempt to dismantle some piece of this identity, it's painful to you. So when I tell you to become nobody, to you it's like, oh my God, that's going to be scary and painful. I don't want to do that. I love this part about myself. And I love this part. I mean, sure, Leo, yeah, that part I don't like. I'll get rid of that part. And this part here, I don't like that part either. I'll get rid of that. So I'm down, Leo. I'm down for getting rid of the stuff I don't like. But the stuff that I like, the stuff that's really me, I'm going to keep that stuff. And what I'm telling you is no. What you really want is you want to get rid of all of it, especially all the great stuff about you. Very counterintuitive. Another thing you want, but you don't know that you want, is you want samadhi. What is samadhi? Samadhi is basically a Hindu term, refers to a state or an experience where you merge with the object which you are observing or perceiving. So literally, it's a state where you become the thing that you are observing. So if you're looking at a tree, you can look at it with such high concentration and such lucidity of mind that you realize that there is no such thing as a you looking at a tree, but that there just is a tree. And that tree is you, or an aspect of you. This is not an intellectual endeavor. This is not a belief system. This is not an ideology. This is a This is a direct experience. So it's an experience that's as real as right now you sitting there and thinking that you are you're that body sitting there thinking, listening to me. So as natural as it feels to be you, well, it'll feel just as natural to be the tree. Or not the tree, but the moon. Not the moon, but the lake. Not the lake, but the stone on the ground. Or if you're listening to me, you'll become me. If you have a samadhi experience of me, you will be me, literally. Not metaphorically, not as a belief, but you will be me. As a matter of fact. So these samadhi experiences, you can develop yourself to have them. I mean, it takes a lot of concentration, takes a lot of meditation, takes a lot of development, but you can develop your mind to the point where you have these samadhi experiences. And these samadhi experiences, they come in various degrees. At first, they start off very light, then they become deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. And these samadhi experiences feel amazing. They feel fucking amazing. They feel more amazing than an orgasm or going out and partying with your friends or whatever, thing that you really love to do. A samadhi experience blows all that shit out of the water. When you have one, it'll be like, oh my God, this is what I've been searching for my whole life, and I didn't even know this shit existed. I've been missing out. I can't believe no one's told me about this. Why did nobody teach this to me? Well, one of the reasons is because you're so fucking closed-minded that you're going to resist anyone teaching it to you. So as I teach it to you, you already resist it. Another problem is that you don't want to fucking work to get it. You'll take it for free, but you're not going to work ahead of time. You're not going to strategize to actually grow yourself to get it. So that's why I don't have it. That's why 99% of people in society have never experienced a samadhi experience. Rather sad, considering that it's one of the most beautiful experiences you can have in life. Rather sad that you have not experienced it yet, don't you think? Another thing that you really want, but you don't know that you want, is you want truth. Truth. Truth with a capital T. Now, what that is a mysterious thing. Hard to put into words. So, if you haven't listened to me before, and this is your first time hearing about this kind of stuff, then you probably will not come away knowing what I mean when I say truth. But if you have been following me, then you might kind of suspect what I mean by truth. Truth is actually what's fucking true. What's actually real, right? What you want is truth independent of anything else. Truth at all costs. That's what you want. That's what you really want. But you don't know this. You are lost pursuing survival and thriving and success. That's what you're pursuing. That's what your life is about. Thriving, comfort, security, success, titillation. That's what your life is about. Your life is not about truth. What you ultimately really want is you want a life that's completely committed to truth. But first problem is you have no idea what truth is. Second problem is you already believe you have the truth. So when I tell this to you, you're like, oh, Leo, truth. Yeah, of course. Yeah, I acknowledge that I like truth and I want truth and truth is important. And that's why I already have it. No. You don't understand what I mean by truth. Truth is something you have no idea. So imagine everything you know. Imagine everything you've ever experienced. Now classify all that as untruth. That's what you've got right now. What truth is? Truth is like a fucking question mark to you. You have no idea what truth is. And I'm not going to tell you because you have to discover it for yourself. But once you find it, you'll realize, of course, of fucking course. Yeah, this is exactly what I've wanted my whole life. If only I had this 20 years earlier. Oh man, I wish I had this 20 years earlier, but I'm glad I at least have it now. That's what you want. And this truth is not a philosophy. This truth is not a belief. This truth is not an ideology. Remember, we're moving away from ideologies. So truth is not an ideology. So what is truth? Well, truth is what remains when you remove all the ideology. This is something you can have. It's something that you deeply want, but that you don't know you want. This truth will cure you of all the shit that you think you want. Once you have truth, a lot of the false stuff that you want will just fall away. It'll become irrelevant. But one of the biggest problems you're going to have on your journey towards truth is, well, you're going to set conditions upon truth. You're going to say like, well, yeah, Leo, I want truth, but only if X, Y, Z. You're going to set conditions upon it. You're going to be like, yeah, I want truth, Leo, but, I'm not willing to leave my relationship to find truth. And I'm not willing to quit my job. And I'm not willing to sit down and meditate for an hour a day. And I'm not willing to go to this retreat that you're telling me to go to. And I'm not willing to read 20 books that you're telling me to read. I'm not willing to do any of that stuff. I will acquire truth my own way. I'll just sit back and I'll just do some armchair philosophy and I'll arrive at truth. And that will be my truth, Leo. You don't know what my truth is, Leo. That's my truth. No, that's not what I mean by truth. That's a total bastardization of truth. What I mean is actual truth, truth with a capital T, the truth that you have no idea about at all yet. You want it. You really, really want it, but you have no idea that you want it yet. Another thing that you want, but you don't know that you want, is you want to be a benevolent force in the world. A benevolent force in the world. What does that mean? That means you want to be a force of good. But I don't mean good in like the classical religious Christian sense. I don't mean it in the sense of like good versus evil. Not in that sense. This is a force, a benevolent force. What it really means is like you just want to be a force of good, a force of compassion, a force of giving, a force of contribution, like coming from a place of contribution to society and to humanity and to reality at large. You want to be that kind of force. Now, how do you be a force of benevolence? Well, there's a lot of different ways. And for different people, it'll mean different things. For some people, it'll mean being an artist and producing great art. For other people, it'll mean helping out, like actually going and helping out in a soup kitchen or something. And for other people, it'll mean shooting self-help videos the way I do. Or for other people, it'll mean helping to teach others in the classroom. Or for others, it'll mean being a good doctor and helping to cure them of their broken leg, or they're giving them some surgery when they need it. There's a lot of different ways to be a benevolent force. And basically what this connects to is my concept of life purpose. So I have a whole course on life purpose. If you've taken my course, then that whole course is basically showing you how do you become a benevolent force in the way that is most authentic to you. Because this here is a very personal thing, right? And there's a million different ways that you can be a benevolent force. And only a handful of those ways will be right for you because you're a unique individual, right? But you want to be this benevolent force. And in fact, you want to be a benevolent force to such a degree that you're no longer working for yourself. You're no longer worrying about yourself. You spend all your time working and worrying about how to be a benevolent force for others or for the environment or, whatever kind of impact you're making in the world. You become a benevolent force to such a degree that your just life becomes an outpouring, a gift giving, just like benevolence pouring out of you, out of every one of your pores. It just comes out and seeps out effortlessly, just comes out and it just kind of gives. And it just, it's just like the love of giving in whatever your favorite mode of giving is. That's what you want. But this is probably the exact opposite of what you've currently got. Because currently what you're doing is you're obsessing about how to take. It's all about taking. How do I take and get what I need? How do I take the money? How do I take the fame? How do I take the status? How do I take the approval, the love? Give it all to me. How do I take everything? How do I take the knowledge and information? How do I hoard it all and keep it for myself and make myself better. That's what you're currently doing. But that's not going to work. That's a far inferior goal to becoming a true benevolent force. The final thing that you want that you don't know that you want is you want a simple, natural lifestyle. Simple, natural lifestyle. What does this mean? Well, it means that your current lifestyle is extremely complicated and polluted in many ways by a lot of unnecessary and unhealthy and kind of just distracting noise. A lot of it comes from our culture. Television, internet, social media, smartphones, computers, partying, clubs, drugs, alcohol. All this stuff. Shopping, acquiring of possessions, doing stuff, always being busy in your life, getting involved with relationships and sex and all this. This becomes very messy and a source of pollution in your life. The hecticness of your work and how polluted your life becomes because you're so focused on achievement, climbing the corporate ladder, or attaining some kind of prestige or status or reputation. So you're pouring all this energy into all this noise, right? Your lifestyle, you think that by doing more of this shit, by filling your life with all this technology and all these gadgets and all this kind of stuff, that your life is becoming enriched, and that somehow, it's richer, it's more fun, it's more interesting, and that's what life is about, right? You don't realize yet that actually the great life comes about when you pare away all those things, right? You become kind of like a ruthless editor of your life. You cut away all that shit. You get rid of it. And you distill down and you edit your life down to just something very, very simple, very basic, more organic, more natural, less polluted, less attached to kind of the tentacles of mainstream culture. Probably means eating healthier, living healthier, being out in nature more, connecting with it more. It means doing less shit and just being, sitting and being and soaking in what life is. It means making your lifestyle very simple. It means having a free and relaxed schedule where you don't have to be doing all this shit, running around like a fucking chicken with its head cut off all day long, and then doing that Monday through Friday and even on the weekends. Just like paring all of it down and just making your life very, very simple. Almost as though, like, imagine if you lived on a deserted island, Robinson Crusoe style, just like you are trapped on a deserted island. It's a very small island. There's not a lot of stuff to do there. There's no amusement parks. There's no cell phones. There's no computers. There's no fucking friends. There's no family. There's like fucking nothing. You don't even have a pet. This island is so deserted that you don't even have like a dog or a fucking cat. You got nothing. It's just like you sitting on this island. What do? You eat, you wash yourself, you just sit there and you live. That's what life is. It's just being. You're just being. You're being on an island, right? You go around hunting for food and just kind of like smelling the flowers and just enjoying the sunsets and then going to sleep on the beach. And then you wake up the next morning and do it again. It's just like, it seems like a very boring kind of life. But remember the prior points that I said. I said as the first point that your life, that reality becomes magical again, right? So don't be scared off by this very simple, natural sort of lifestyle, because you've also got these other points working in your favor. All of them come together as a package. And when life becomes magical to you every single moment, then this kind of simple, natural lifestyle becomes highly, highly appealing. You no longer need to fill the void with all these polluting distractions the way that you currently do. Notice that what you want is not raw pleasure. These things I was talking about, they're not about pleasure. It's not hedonism. Counterintuitively, The pursuit of raw pleasure, the attempt to maximize pleasure, which we might call hedonism, although that's not what the word meant originally in the past, but that's what it means now. This notion of hedonism, it doesn't work, right? It backfires. The human psyche is too complex to allow a hedonistic strategy to actually be the most advantageous. Doesn't work that way. And now you start to see a little bit about why true self-development is so challenging. Because you would assume that it's like, oh, well, Leo, I watched one of your episodes. And what you're helping me to do, Leo, is you're helping me to achieve my goals. But that's not how I help you. If I did that, I would just drive you and enable your fucking delusion. Drive you deeper into your delusion. What I need to do to really help you is to get you to realize that your goals are fucking stupid. That they're childish, immature, and neurotic, and that they are leading you, in many cases, in the exact opposite direction of where you should be going. Notice that nobody ever talks about this. Nobody tells you this. Have you noticed this? It's very interesting. In society, nobody will just kind of stop you dead in your fucking tracks and tell you, what the fuck are you doing? This thing is not right for you. Like, if you're going to college, you can go to college for 8 years, getting a PhD degree. From the very beginning to the very end, 8 years, and nobody, not even once, will sit you down and say, what the fuck are you doing? This is not what you should be doing. Nobody will ever do that for you, including yourself, most likely. Or if you're at work and you started a business and you're running this business and you're earning millions of dollars, nobody will ever come up to you and say, what the fuck are you doing? This is stupid. Stop doing that. Stop doing this whole thing. This entire thing is totally fucking wrong. Stop it. This will never, ever happen. Even spiritual teachers, like you can go to a fucking Zen master or, some meditation teacher or some retreat leader somewhere, whatever. And generally what they do is they take a very hands-off approach. It's like, well, if you come to me and you want it really bad, yeah, I'll give you some insights. But, if you just tell me your life story, I'm not going to tell you, just fucking stop. Just stop, like dead in your tracks. Stop. That's fucking wrong. You're doing it wrong. Like, I don't see anybody doing this, right? In a sense, because it's kind of considered impolite. Who am I? After all, who am I to pry into your life and tell you what's right and what's wrong for you? But then again, who the fuck are you to know what's right and what's wrong for you? You have no understanding of how your psychology works. You have no understanding of awareness or of consciousness. You have almost no understanding of these things. So who the fuck are you to set the agenda for your life? The seeds of your strategizing. That's what we're questioning here, right? Because the strategies that you're currently creating are based on false wants. Because the true wants are so fucking counterintuitive that you try to grasp it and it just like slips out of your hands. And you have a lot of fear and resistance to your true wants. The things you really want, you're fucking scared shitless of actually realizing them. Believe it or not. It's twisted. It's a very twisted mechanism, your mind. Very twisted. Notice that I said nothing about money, sex, relationships. I did talk about these things, but I talk about them as the things that you don't really want. So these are things you don't want. You don't want money. You don't want sex. You don't want relationships. You don't want to look good. You don't want to be taller. You don't want to be more handsome. You don't want success. You don't want status, reputation, and position. These things are really irrelevant to you. You don't want physical objects. You don't want technology. You don't want gadgets. You don't want entertainment. You don't want movies and video games. You don't want better porn. You don't want more knowledge. That's a big trap. More knowledge. You don't want that. You don't even want self-actualization. Ironically. You don't really want these things. These things are all distractions from the core 10 things that I told you about here. Now, the question is, will you be wise enough to understand this communication? Because the tragedy is that you are so lost right now that you don't even realize that you're lost. That's how lost you are. You're so lost that you actually believe that you're headed in the right direction. That's how lost you are. It's worse than being lost. It's being lost plus layer upon layer upon layer of denial and delusion. That's your current position.